What is going on, guys? Corrosive Bullet here, and today we are going to be going over the red archetype and some of the early reveals that we have gotten so far on the Dragon Ball Fusion World socials. A lot has been released in the past couple weeks, and I've actually been really busy with Sparking Zero, understandably, so I do apologize for the lack of updates and a lack of videos for Fusion World these past couple of days, but now I kind of want to get into all of the breakdowns of every card that's been kind of revealed for each of the archetypes, for each of the colored decks, and kind of just break down how I feel these guys are going to be like going into set 4. So if you guys want to see more content like this, please let me know down below in the comments. Subscribe to the channel for more. We are on our way to 300 subscribers. I do appreciate any and all support you guys are willing to offer. I appreciate all of you. But with that said, let's kind of get into this. So kind of starting off, we're going to start with the leader for set 4. We got UI Goku. And UI Goku's interesting for the sheer fact that he's not a 25k leader, but he awakens at 3 life or less, which is typical for a 25k leader usually. So when he awakens, he's only 20k power. He loses his draw, which is interesting to say the least. And then as an activate battle, once per turn, you choose up to 1 battle card in the battle area, and this card's original power becomes the main as that card's power for the battle. So it seems, I mean, it's very bare bones in terms of what it's trying to do or what it is supposed to be doing. But there's a lot of versatility here because not only can you pick a battle card that's on your side of the field, you can also pick a card that's on your opponent's side of the field. And it's I think, you can correct me in the comments below if you think I'm wrong here. I could be very wrong here. I'm just interjecting. But from what it seems like, if you're going up against a black deck, for example, you're going up against Super Saiyan 4, we know that Super Saiyan 4 is able to boost your opponent's cards by 10 or 15,000 power. If I understand this correctly, this should, because that power sticks until your next turn, or your opponent's next turn, a powered up battle card on your opponent's board from your Super Saiyan 4 leader would actually translate to this guy. So say you have the secret rare on board. Your opponent has the secret rare Goku on their board. They powered it up with a marker to make it 45,000 until the end of my next turn. In theory, this should be able to go up to 45,000, which is pretty cool. So, I mean, it's very aggressive. It's meant to be a very aggressive leader that's supposed to really just push into your opponent and give a lot of pressure in like a split instance. So now in terms of how strong this ability could be, it is very, very dependent on what is currently on board. So if you yourself don't have much in terms of battle power on your board, but you're going to be heavily reliant on your opponent's board to facilitate this effect, to apply that pressure. And even then, depending on the playstyle of your opponent, if they're building more wide, like most yellow decks kind of tend to do, you may not necessarily see a whole lot of use out of this ability. So there's a lot of cards that are being introduced with this guy that's going to help facilitate borrowing of power like that, which we'll get into. But I think this is a fair leader. It's a fine leader. I wish you didn't lose the draw, but I understand why the draw was removed. It's meant to kind of balance him out in a sense. But by that logic, I probably would have been fine with like up to like 15,000 power or something, like some sort of restriction to keep the draw as well. So we'll have to see when this guy releases, but I think this is it's fine leader. Definitely better than Starter Coup. Probably better than U7 just because of the blitz damage it's able to do, but we'll just have to see as more stuff kind of gets revealed. Next, we have the Topo here. Topo is a 4-cost, 30k power, 5k combo card where on play you take 1 damage, and if your leader is awakened, add the top card of your deck to your life. So I've been seeing a lot of contention about this card. I've been seeing a lot of discussion. A lot of people are saying that this card is going to be dead on arrival because SR Jiren is a much better card. And yes, SR Jiren is a better card because it's a sticky 30k body that you would need to attack twice or at least KO once and swing in to get a KO from battle in order to remove them off board. and it's 100% dependent on playing around your opponent's attacks to negate attacks, right? And draw 2. Here's where I see this guy's value. It's the fact that blue is just going to play around SR Jiren no matter what. They're not going to swing into your leader or into your Jiren and allow you to proc 2 cards off of life, right? Like, a smart blue player is going to play around that Jiren and remove that Jiren before it becomes a problem and before you start getting draw power from it. With Topo here, Topo is great because the draw mechanic in itself is being played on your terms. It is allowing you to facilitate that draw that Jiren doesn't give you until your opponent swings into you. So there's two different cards for 2 completely separate situations. Yes, the SR Jiren is still going to be a staple in the deck, but I would argue that you're going to want to run a lot of these guys, if not a full play set, because you want to be able to facilitate that draw on you. And then the beauty of it is that because it's a 30k body on board, it still feeds into what the Jiren leader wants you to do. It wants you to be able to only take 1 damage. This card will still prevent double strikes from going into you and taking 2 life. There is a lot of value in this card that I think a lot of people are not seeing. And I want to kind of expand on that. I wanted to kind of expand on that and show people or give an example in terms of how this is going to be used and why there are times where you will want to use this guy over SR Jiren. And let's be 100% candid too. I play a lot of Jiren players. Jiren has grown a lot in the client, and I've been seeing a lot of people when me who generally plays blue more than most other colors. I play into a lot of people playing Jiren as just energy fodder, and they throw all their Jirens into their energy pool. And it's like, okay, why would you do that? Because yes, I can just bottom deck your stuff, but if you're just using Jiren as charge fodder, then that card is useless to you in that matchup. So this card gives you an option that doesn't allow Jiren to be useless. You can play Jiren later on to benefit you later while still facilitating a draw off of this card. It's options, people. It's just options. Jiren is a great deck that definitely needed some support in terms of facilitating what it wants to do, and now it finally has it. It has a multiple means of being able to get that draw power that it wants. And I think that's great for the deck. I think that's the thing that really makes that deck shine, is the fact that you can just play cards and have abilities that allow you to draw 2 cards every turn, maybe even twice in 1 turn. So I think this card's great. I think it's great for Jiren. You could definitely use this in Beerus. You could definitely use this in the UI Goku as like a power-up option as well, while also facilitating, and especially with this guy would probably be great for UI Goku too, since he doesn't draw on the Awakened side either. So just food for thought. I wanted to at least throw that out there and kind of give my 2 cents on how I see this card in terms of its value. Next, we got Great Priest, 3 cost, 20k power, 10k combo. We're on play. Choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 5,000 for the turn for each of your battle cards with Angel in their special traits. I mean, the effect in itself is fine. The problem is that the Angel archetype is pretty non-existent for the most part. You have you got the Whis cards from set 1 that get a lot of use still. You have Fua, which is still used on occasion. But even then, is Fua an angel card? Fua may not be an angel card. You can correct me in the comments below. But yeah, like there's the other great priest card. There's like Vados that doesn't really get a whole lot of use. So I mean, there's not a whole lot going on with the angel archetype. Now, if some sort of leader drops down the road, where angel becomes a bit more prominent, then yeah, I could see this card having a lot of use. But as it stands right now, I don't really see a whole lot of utility out of this in the current format, in the current meta. But we'll see in the future. Next, we're going again to some of the starter decks. The starter deck stuff. So we got 2 cost SR Goku, 20k power, 10k combo, permanent. If your leader is awakened, this card gets 10,000 power. On play, add 1 card from your life to your hand. This card is pretty busted because I've seen a lot of people saying that this needs to be like auto banned. It being a starter deck card, I don't think it's going to get banned in any particular way. That said, this card is very strong, but it is very dependent on when you're able to play it. So you got to look at it from the aspect of you're primarily going to be using this guy as a means to awaken, right? So there's 2 methods of play that you'll see with this guy. You will see this card being played early on multiple times to hyper awaken yourself, which is great. There will be times where you will only be able to play this when you were at 5 life and you play it at 4 to then awaken and boost this guy up to 30. Sure. There will be, on occasion, not always, but on occasion, you could go into, you could be sitting at, 6 life, right? And you could have 4 energy built up by playing defensive and just keeping your life pool high. And you play 2 of these guys back to back, you awaken, and now not only do you get a 20k leader swing from off your leader, but you also have 2 30k bodies on board that, are just permanent 30ks because you're awakened. So while this card is busted, the fact that you do have to add it's a requirement. You have to add a card from life from your hand when you play this. So I think this is going to see a lot of early gameplay. I could see this being a means of hyper awakening in the mid game and having sticky bodies on board after the fact, and that being a bit troublesome, sure. But at the end of the day, it's a 2 cost. It's going to be bottom deck to Oblivion in blue. It's going to be these cards can be sent back to hand with Pan in black or KO'd by Double Striker Bardock. There's going to be KO effects. There's going to be cards that will be able to KO this with ease in green. Like 5-cost Gohan is able to KO this guy with no problem. We see a lot more Big Bang attacks in green. Yellow, once again, just freezes him into Oblivion. And now even yellow has like Final Explosion that's able to rest this guy and KO this guy. If you can keep the, I think it's only a cost thing. I don't know if it's a power thing. It might be a power thing too. It's been a little bit since I played the game, so I apologize if there's some inaccuracies in this particular video. Like I said, you guys can correct me in the comments down below. You're more than welcome to do so. But again, I don't think this guy is as busted as people say he's going to be. He is strong. It is a very strong card. I just don't see it being busted to the point where like a limit or a ban is going to happen to this guy. But he is very strong, and I think he's probably going to be a staple going in most red decks, probably. All right, and then we got the Zeno, 6 cost. Finally, red's getting some 6 cost stuff. I've been advocating that for a while. I can't believe we're only just getting it now, but better late than never, I'd say. Especially if they give us some strong options, like I'd be fine for some 6 costs in red. Jiren's able to get up to like 8 energy in his playstyle, so I mean it's possible. But anyway, we got Zeno here. 6 cost, 25k power, 10k combo. On play, choose all battle cards other than this card, and they get minus 25,000 power for the turn. I've been seeing a lot of people saying that this is definitely worse than the blue one, and he is worse than the blue one. But we need to take into account that in a deck like Beerus, this card is like perfect for a deck like Beerus. That 25,000 becomes a 35,000 on the leader swing. So anything that you can't kill on your opponent's board with this by minusing is just whatever, because Beerus can just pick up the slack and minus more. Also, he's 5k power stronger than the blue Zeno, so he's a bit better aggressively than the blue Zeno is, and I think that's great for blue. There's also other cards in red right now that are going to release next set that require you to have a 25k swinger on board in order to facilitate certain effects, which we'll get into later in this video. But I don't think this is a bad card. I think, again, for a deck type, a meta type in like red that hasn't had a 6 cost, this is a strong card to have for a 6 cost. Just being able to minus everything by 25,000, I mean, yeah, you're not bottom decking it. It's not removing the problem every time, but it's still an oppressive card to have. I mean, it's still pretty strong in my opinion. Yeah, but then we got some more Daima reveals. Obviously, we got Baby Goten, who's just a cantrip. At some point, I would expect that cantrips start doing maybe a little bit more, or they maybe shift away from cantrips, because at this point, there's so many cantrips in the game. It'd be like, what's the point of cantrips if you're not able to use all of them? It's like super combos. Like, super combos are just super combos. Cantrips are just cantrips. They do whatever. They're not doing anything special. So it's kind of like pick your poison. What do you want to use? But I would kind of like to see more usage out of like cantrips and super combos going forward than just, oh, replace itself, or, oh, it's just 20k on defense. But we do have the Shin. And Shin Mini is a 4-cost, 25k power, 10k combo, where an auto, when your battle card of 25,000 power or more attacks, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, and it gets minus 5,000 power for the turn. So this is a great card, because the more 25k or more cards you have on board, the more this effect is going to proc off. So in a deck like Beerus, right, you play this guy in Beerus, you're minusing 10 off leader, then you're swinging with this guy for an extra 5, and then let's say it's turn 5 or 6, this guy survived. Then you can play like some other stuff to facilitate more minusing power and more minusing power. You can play this on turn 6. You can play this and then play a 2-cost Goku that goes up to 30k. Swing with that guy, and that's another. Like, you have so many options in terms of how you can do this. And so this is a card that your opponent is definitely going to want to remove sooner rather than later, because otherwise it's going to become a trickle effect the further the match goes on. Great card. I think it's a great card for red specifically. Couple this with the Daima Goku leader, and obviously, like, you're already getting 10 just off of the leader and this guy. You're getting minus 10,000. So I mean, there's options with this guy. You can do some stuff and shenanigans with this Shin. Then we got introduced to the Double Striker for red in the Daima deck. So it's another Goku. It's a 5-cost, 35k power, no combo. It's a double strike. When attacking, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards with 20,000 power or less and KO it. So I'm not sure how I feel about this card. On the one hand, it's a sticky effect that every time you're able to swing, you're KOing something 20k or less on board. But sometimes, depending on your matchup and what may be on your opponent's board, it sometimes might just be better to play the other Double Strike Goku and just minus by 20,000. Just because minusing might be a bit more effective. So maybe like in the Daima deck, I can see this being a bit more beneficial because you already got so much minusing power already being introduced in the Daima starter deck. So by just having something that KOs outright rather than minuses, I think that would be fine. It really just depends on what the situation itself calls for. I don't think this is I think this isn't really a situation, I think, where like they announced the new 4-cost Double Striker for Super Saiyan 4 Goku in black, right? And a lot of people were talking about how, oh, well, this card's not replacing Double Strike Bardock. But there's been a lot of conversation where you would probably run the Super Saiyan 4 Double Strike and the Bardock Double Strike in tandem with one another. They work together. Maybe you run 3 of the Goku, 3 of the Bardock, that sort of thing. And I think that situation doesn't 100% apply to this card and the other Double Striker in red. I think it's really going to be dependent on what your matchup is. I think it's really going to be dependent on how you have your deck built. And those two things compounding together are going to determine which of these Double Strikers you're going to want to be using. Because there's a lot of cards in red that, if you KO something, they get effects. So minusing is just better for that. But sometimes, depending on what the card is, it might just be better to KO it outright. I don't know. This is why I feel like having a side deck would probably be very beneficial for Fusion World, just so you can have the option to swap things in and out on the fly in between matches. But that's just me. We'll see what happens with this card. It's not a bad card by any means. I think it's just going to have very limited use depending on the circumstances. And now we're going to get into the big boss cards that we're going to be using in red next set. First off, we're going to start with a secret rare. MUI Goku is 6 cost, 40k power, 0 combo. On play, until the end of your opponent's next turn, negate the next damage that you take. This card is awesome, or that effect itself is awesome, because it's basically a pseudo Jiren. It's allowing you to negate one attack, no matter what, against your opponent. And you can pick and choose which attack you want to take. So you could play this guy and then defend like crazy, and then there's like maybe one attack that's like 50k power, and like you don't want to take that. So you can just negate that particular attack and just combo out of everything else. And therefore you took no damage that turn. So I mean, that's great. And then also he's got the permanent, he's got the when attacking skill of you choose all of your opponent's battle cards and all of them get minus 20,000 power for the turn, which is really strong. It's much better than Zeno, because Zeno minuses everything on your board too. But this is strictly attacking your opponent's battle cards. This card's great. This is a great secret rare. This is going to be an auto-include in UI Goku. It's going to be an auto-include in Jiren. And you could probably make the argument that this card's going to be an auto-include in Beerus. You could also make the argument that U7 could use this too, but you're probably playing more wide than anything else with U7, so you may not always be able to get this guy off with U7. Starter Ku is not really benefiting too much from this guy, outside of just, you know, having a 6-cost option in Starter Ku. Same thing with Daima Goku. I don't think it's going to be as impactful in Daima, but Beerus, Jiren, and UI Goku, I think will all benefit greatly from having this guy on in the deck. Just being able to negate one damage just outright, and then minusing everything on your opponent's board by 20,000, and being a sticky 40k body is great. So definitely excited to see this guy. And then last but not least, we got the SR Frieza, who's a 5-cost, 25k power, 5k combo, where on play, if your leader has Universe 7 in its special traits, until the end of your opponent's next turn, this card cannot be removed from the battle area by your opponent's skills, and it gets 20,000 power. And then when attacking, choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards and it gets minus 10,000 power for the turn. So this is, in my opinion, it's a great card. This is a great card because it provides a sticky body that boosts itself up when it's in a U7 deck. So it goes up to 45,000 power. And then he can't be removed from battle by opponent's skills. So the only way that you can remove this guy would be from battle, or minusing would be the only way that you could get rid of this guy. So for the first turn, this guy is sticking on your board. He is not going anywhere. In most cases, you're more than likely you're not going to minus down 45,000 if you're fighting against a Beerus or something, right? And then minusing one card by 10,000, it's a very mediocre thing, but like the fact that he's surviving for one turn and you're able to swing again next turn, pretty much, you're getting minus 20,000 power value out of that effect. I think is fine. I think it's pretty good. I don't know if it's going to be an auto-include in every deck. You could make the argument that this would be decent in U7. Just because it's a sticky body that can't really be removed all that easily. So having that plus an extra 5,000, which makes him a 50k swinger on his first turn on the board, is pretty crazy. Beerus, Beerus could probably use some sticky stuff because Beerus definitely has an issue with making sure that he keeps a board. I think in most cases, a Beerus deck will not be able to keep the board going. So having something sticky on board that can't be easily removed, I think is good for Beerus. This will definitely be really good in UI Goku though. UI Goku can greatly benefit from this guy on turn 4 when he awakens, or turn 5. Sorry, turn 5 when he awakens and can get that 45,000 power off of this card. So Yeah. So that's gonna do it for all the red reveals. We're gonna be doing a breakdown for the rest of the set 4 set. These are just early reveals. We still don't have the full picture of what everything's being announced, but now that a lot of crazy stuff has dropped and been revealed, I kind of wanted to just do my early discussions about some of these cards for each of these archetypes. So let me know what you guys think down below. Are you guys excited for red? Are you guys going to build your pre-existing red decks differently because of some of these cards? Let me know. Let's have a discussion. Let's talk about it down in the comments down below. Again, if you enjoyed the video, please consider hitting that subscribe button, like the video, and I will see you all in the next video. Peace.